and welcome back to Game Informer's Game Club. Hey, I'm still here. We got Wade Wojcik, champion of the people. What a hero. God among men. And Ben Reeves, who will do.
I am. Yeah, I'm just here.
will do.
And Cork and Joe are back
No, they
in their office.
They didn't make it.
We've already addressed how disappointed we are several times. And trust me, I feel you, community. I totally get it. It is a big point of contention. But we're here. We're going to finish off talking about Deus Ex Human Revolution. We all beat the game.
Yes.
So this is going to be a little bit about the ending specifically, the last third, and thoughts on the overall game. We get a lot of great emails from the community that they sent into podcast@gameformer.com. We're going to read all those. What do you guys want to do? How do you want to structure this? Do you want to read some basic feedback on stuff we've said already first, or you want to... How about feedback first?
It's a good way to get it rolling.
Share thoughts. All right.
Yeah.
So this is Jake Reynolds. He writes in and says, hey, my name is Jake. I really like part 2 of the Game Club discussion for Deus Ex. I really don't mind constructive criticism of a game, but the last discussion was very negative. And Joe is so stupid. No, much more interesting and productive discussion this time. I completely agree that unlocking the Praxis system completely changes the dynamic of the game. Certain routes now become open to you, and advancing through the levels becomes way more fun. The mix of sneaking, strategy, and using violence as a last resort makes this game very enjoyable. Plus, I love the cutscenes. In my opinion, it provides a drive of the story very similar to Metal Gear Solid. This is no Metal Gear Solid, in my opinion. And then he says, thanks, guys. New to the podcast, and you guys are by far my favorite. Thank you so much. Yeah, I felt good about that positive discussion. It seems like when we're begging people to join us on a game club, having a positive discussion about a game is great. But
you didn't have to beg me.
I think it's nice to have maybe one person who's maybe just to give a balanced discussion.
Yeah.
Say even like Uncharted, we were pretty praiseworthy of that game, but if one person had been on and been like, I hate this game in a lot of ways,
right,
that would have been interesting.
And there were people that wrote in. I feel like they can help fill that gap too,
right,
if we're all on the same page. But there's
Can't
varying
wait for
degrees
that.
there. So Isaiah James says, "Hi guys, glad to hear you're enjoying the game more. I played it for the first time last winter, and it quickly became one of my favorite games ever. In that press conference situation you guys talked about, I burst through the doors and talked him down on camera, and that whole situation was solved.
They probably had the pheromone unlock.
So many pheromones. Yoo-hoo. Nathan Keeling, who's written in a lot, we appreciate it. He writes in and says, I'm a huge fan of Deus Ex Original, and after hearing the part 2 discussion, I need to give a major spoiler for the first 2 games.
Whoa.
So anyone who has not played them, please plug your ears for a few minutes.
All right.
Wade, do you really not want to know?
Really?
It doesn't seem that major to
No,
me.
it's fine. It's fine.
All right. Eliza, who's the news anchor, is one of several prototypes the Illuminati used to create Icarus Helios, the god AI that hounds Denton, eventually merging, possessing him, and ultimately taking over the world in Deus Ex 2. Skeptical? Remember that weird hand statue with a hologram of the world in it at Eliza's building? It's the first thing you see at the start of Deus Ex 1. So she plays a larger role in the future than we all realized.
Yeah.
Well, she'll come back up again in this discussion, I think.
I think so. Colin Perkins from St. Paul, Minnesota, greatest place on earth, writes in and says, I've always heard good things about the Deus Ex franchise, so I finally decided to tackle the series in preparation for Mankind Divided. I started with the original Deus Ex in January and wrapped up the fall in June.
Wow.
Do you guys know about the fall? We haven't talked about it once.
No, we haven't.
It's
Is
that
that the
iOS
Oh, the iOS one
that they ported to Steam. It's apparently not great, but I'm really curious if anyone out there has played it. It's almost too late to send feedback in, but go ahead and send it in. I'll read it on the podcast anyway. We'll talk about this game forever, and then we'll talk about Mankind Divided forever. Anyways, now that I'm all caught up, by the way, it's crazy timing that he decided to do this, and then we chose to do this as a game
it's meant
club.
to be.
He says, now that I'm all caught up, I wanted to share my favorite quirk Easter egg in the series. The fact that you can shoot hoops in every game. I didn't know this.
Really? In this one too?
Apparently, I discovered the basketball court in Hell's Kitchen during the original game and thought the developers put in a silly distraction in what otherwise was a very serious game. Then another court showed up early in Invisible War. By the time I started Human Revolution, I was actively looking for a court in hopes that the inside joke didn't get lost in the franchise reboot. Eidos, Montreal didn't disappoint. Each time I come across a court, I spend 5 or 10 minutes fruitlessly trying to make a three-pointer. Sure, I've yet to make a basket, but it's little touches like these that make me dig the franchise so much. Looking forward to tossing up more bricks in a few weeks with Mankind Divided. Awesome. I didn't know. I was
interesting.
I didn't.
Is that in
even know.
Detroit? Like,
you would think so. I'm trying to think. Singapore,
Probably
are they into
China.
basketball?
yeah.
They're really into it. Yeah.
What do you mean? Yao Ming. They love basketball over there, right?
They love that guy because he's Chinese.
Do you know that basketball's not a thing in China?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. That's cool. I can't believe we all missed the basketball court, though.
Yeah,
to
I
go back.
don't even remember seeing one.
Maybe I'm just so used to it in Overwatch.
I'm so blind to sports that I just walk right by them.
All right. Before we get into specific stuff here, part 3. Where are you guys at? I know you're playing this again, but how's your temperature? What's the needle? What direction is the needle going?
So this one had the DLC,
Yeah.
the missing link.
Did it stand out to you this time?
It did because like it's a chapter that you could take out and nothing really changes, but it fleshes out a lot.
Yeah.
Like when it ends, you still wake up in the cryo tube that you went in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the last third of our game club feel a lot longer. At least at least it did to me.
I think so. That was a bit of a grind. Reeves, where are you at?
It is funny because at the end of the last podcast, we were talking. And you're like, "Oh, I haven't played that yet," and it just struck me as funny because, like, when you actually play it, knowing it's there, it seems so obvious that that's like the DLC.
But the first time I went through, I was just like, "Oh, this is the game."
Right.
What a weird little reset here in the middle of everything. Yeah, I'm with you. It made it feel longer. That really lowered my enjoyment. I wish that I could have removed that chunk because it brought me back to the beginning of the game, which I hated so much, where they remove all your abilities, all the augments. It resets your guns in a weird way. So it's just like, okay. And then they give you practice points. And it's like, do I spend these? Are they going to be reset? Am I getting my stuff back?
Yeah.
I just hate that feeling of building up and then they Metroid you, but in this kind of gray area kind of way.
It was the worst way to do that. I don't. If they were going to integrate them, why not? I don't know. Somehow balance it so you can keep your stuff.
Because they wanted it to be standalone, so you could jump back in. So that's why they had to Metroid you and remove all your abilities like that.
Yeah,
so it's a tough thing structurally. What happened?
Gameplay-wise?
Okay, so let's see. We got somebody that wrote in about it, saying, "I would love to know how the missing link plays for people playing the director's cut." This is Barbara Dro that wrote in. I'm playing the DLC with the original game. You access it from an option in the main menu. It's not part of the main game at all. And I played it after completing the main mission, so the transition was a little weird. Suddenly, I'm back to where I was several hours ago. It seems like a weird design decision. Also, losing all my practice points and augments really stank. Being depowered in games is something that I really hate. I don't care if it makes sense from within the narrative. Having lost all my hard work sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could have been done better. Like, I was fine with losing them right away, but I wanted to get them all back before the boss battle at least. But you get it back at the very end. You get everything back.
That's what was confusing, because I was saving all those practice points because I don't know if I want to use these on the abilities I already had, because I don't know if it'll then carry over. So I don't know if I should waste it. So I was just inching along, and then with that boss fight and that maniac guy with the magnum sitting up in that little room upstairs, I was like, well, I think I should just try and take this guy out and end the boss fight as quickly as possible here. And so I used all my practice points, got up to level 5 hacking, hacked through that door, just went all in on hacking, just immediately knocked him out. It was very satisfying. Shot him in the head, took his magnum, and then waited for like the fade to black to the cutscene. And it defied the rules of video games.
Right.
The boss fight kept going on. You could take out all his minions too. That's not the way games should
and
work.
the robot.
Yes, exactly. And then I had so little ammo.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know what to do. So it's like there's guys like on the catwalks. It's like, well, I don't have a sniper rifle. I guess I'll just fire at them and hope I can kill them from this distance. But it was a rough fight for me.
Yeah.
That's not the way you should use those practice points.
No kidding. And then I got all my practice points back at the end, and it didn't reset things because I was reading around online trying to figure out what I should do, and it seemed to imply that you could kind of reset. But nope, I guess I'm sticking with like that hardcore hacking strategy. And it's like, okay, I guess I have to reinvest in everything else.
Well, you get your practice points back, though.
You do, yeah. But I just
But
wish
your
I didn't.
tree isn't reset.
Exactly. I was hoping the tree would get fully reset.
And I guess
the ones you spent during
Right,
the mission.
during the
that makes
DLC.
sense. Like, I got 60 practice points when I finished, so I just like maxed out all the Augs. So I didn't
nice.
have to worry about that. But that does suck. Like, if you don't have enough to finish every tree, then you're just stuck with what you decided during
that weird little one-off.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny now that I think about it, I totally got the Icarus landing system at that moment. And now that I finished the game, I did not use it once.
Really?
I feel like that's a great AUG to have early on in the game.
Yeah.
But towards the end, I never jumped off a platform and
great
never
point.
used it at all.
Well, in the one part of the facility where there's that tower in the middle, like, you know, with the
Which facility?
with the prisoners on the outside.
This is the DLC?
Um,
Or Singapore?
no, yeah, this is God, what
The DLC is the one with the prisoners.
Yeah.
Okay.
So during that part, you know, you got the tower in the middle with the monitors you can hack.
Yeah.
If you, like, I jumped off that a lot.
Okay.
So, well,
What did you guys do for the DLC for saving the prisoners or the whistleblower?
Reeves, what'd you do?
I saved the prisoners because I don't know. I was like, well, there's more lives, and for some reason I assumed like, well, there'll be some other way later on to like take this guy down. But it's also like DLC, so it's kind of like you don't know the story and how it continues outside of that.
Right, so it can't really have too many consequences.
Yeah, exactly. So unless they pick it up in Mankind Divided, I don't know that they will.
So you guys went on the cover story trip, and we're going to get into this later, but just on a base level, do they carry over the saves at all?
Not really, no. And in fact, well, we can talk about once we get to the ending part.
Yeah.
But basically what they said is no matter what you chose for an ending, it still kind of results in the same thing for the sequel.
Yeah, they try to leave things a little ambiguous about what Jensen actually chose, but I mean it's pretty clear that on some level these things are going to happen no matter what.
Right.
So they leave things ambiguous, so it's like, well, your ending that you chose could have still fit into this narrative.
Okay.
But they're not. It's not Mass Effect style where things are going to pick up exactly.
And it's on so many systems. I understand that'd be
Yeah.
a tough thing to do. But Wade, you're so excited about it. Do you want to talk about where we start out this time around?
Well, just real quick,
Yeah.
the prisoner versus whistleblower
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I saved both.
Oh, la-di-da. How'd you do that?
Well, my first
How'd you do
playthrough,
that?
I saved the whistleblower, and I was like,
okay.
yeah, that's sad, though, because I had to watch everyone choke to death.
Jesus. With the exact same mirrored animations on both monitors? Yeah.
Let me out. You promised to save me. Which includes the one girl you talked to that's down in the cell when you walk by her.
Oh.
She gets transferred up there.
Oh, really?
I just walked right by her. I would not have it.
But there is like a secret vent you go through, and then you have to like smash through a wall or something, and you get to this you get to the source of the poison, and then you can just break it. And then the Russian voice is like, "Good job, Ratan! Like you found the secret thing. You were able to save them both."
So the guy at the end, I forget
Quinn.
his name, Quinn,
Yeah.
who's the secret like leader, or
Russian
whatever.
it
Irish
was me.
dude.
Yeah, exactly. He seemed kind of annoyed with me that I had let the whistleblower die.
Well, he's like, that was a loss to humanity overall.
Did you do the same thing?
Yeah.
He was like, bad call, man. So he's probably pretty happy with
Yeah,
you.
he was like, "Oh, cool, you did it.
Come here,
Good
Jensen.
job."
pat on the back.
Come in for a smooch.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Did you look up like the FAQ or the walkthrough to figure that out?
Well, I did when I first beat the game because I was really curious if there was a way. So that
Okay.
just was in the back of my head from last time. But it's really hard to find. Like you have to almost know like where it is.
before we leave the DLC stuff, there's a couple weird moments. I guess a lot of this game, I was confused about the plot, and I understand this because I was not reading a lot of emails, doing a lot of side quests. Why did Jensen just crawl into a crate? Like, goodbye, cruel world. I'm going in here for a while.
Oh, so he was trying to find the scientists.
And he's just trying to be like carried away.
So what
somewhere?
happened was, so when you get back to Singapore, you meet up with that like crime lord boss dude who's the bartender at the Hive,
Yeah.
and he was like, "All right,
Well, that's not Singapore. That's China.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
Shanghai. So he's like, there's this boat leaving. You have to rescue his son, and then he's like, all right, fine. There's this boat leaving that will take you to your scientists, and so you're just like stowing away aboard the ship
Okay.
to get to where the scientists are.
Gotcha.
So
I guess
he just knew that boat was going to where the scientists were.
Something like that. Yeah.
And
okay.
where
After
was
that bomb goes off.
In
and
my
whatnot.
memory of it, it was like he wakes up in Panchea or whatever, but that's actually later.
No. You take the rocket.
Right,
Panchea.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you when you find the scientists? That's just some
That's
underground
Singapore.
base. That's in Singapore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, the scientists aren't saying?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to track down the three of them, and I want to get to that in a bit. But that opening confused me. Where it's just Jensen being like, "I'm going off the grid for a while." And
Yeah.
he wakes up getting punched in the face. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell is
So
happening?
I guess they just found him
'Cause,
like,
yeah,
hiding.
In the normal game, it just cuts from cryopod to cryopod.
Yeah, where he
Yeah.
wakes
Waking
up in Singapore.
right.
And I wonder if they did that intentionally because they're like, we need to leave a space for us to add DLC later. They must have done that intentionally.
I
when
think
they were
so.
designing the game.
Yeah, must have. Also, the part that made me laugh in that DLC is, God, I think it is Quinn, just the guy who's like, "Hey, you got that scanning retinal eyeball? Here, I normally sell guns, but let me install a new
Yeah,
eyeball for
yeah.
you, Jensen." And then just fades to black, fades back up, and Jensen's like, "Wow, what an eyeball!" It's like, what? You just let this random dude gouge
Yeah.
out your eye? Like, this is the future we have?
No.
looking forward to?
You didn't like. He found he found an eye.
Right, I know, to like get in the retinal scanner and whatnot, but it's
Yeah.
just like this weird abbreviated scene.
Oh,
And it's like,
okay.
well, new eyeball, here we go.
And that was only to get through that door or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, what if you had never found that eye?
Well, I think that was a main quest. I think you had
Yeah,
to
You
find
had to
the
find
eye.
that?
yeah.
I thought I
that
just
was-
randomly picked it up.
Oh, really? Just loot from someone's body?
Yeah, that's what I thought I'd remembered, but
Did you guys drag bodies around a lot in this game?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Well,
really?
just in
Never.
this part because I lost all the practice points, so I had to hide more bodies. So in the opening, when you get out of the chair and you're trying to sneak around the first guys guarding you, I would like one by one, like knock them out and then drag their bodies down into a vent. So at the end, I had like 5 guys all crammed into this tiny little like duct.
Oh wow,
That's funny.
I just went on a slaughter spree. Normally I try and be stealthy, and I think I did a pretty good job of it overall in this game. But in this DLC, I was like, well, you're resetting me. I'm going back to the beginning of the game. F you. Let's bring out a shotgun and tear this hallway
Where's
up.
an old lady I can shoot in the face?
Yeah, that's why I was so out of ammo during that boss fight and just completely
Right.
hosed. And then once it got to Singapore, then it was like, here's all the ammo you could possibly imagine. It's like, where were you guys during the
Yeah,
DLC?
yeah.
It was
I
like
can't
Last
even
of Us
hold all
out
this
there.
ammo. I was constantly in my inventory, like even though I had it maxed out. After I got all my stuff, I was like, I don't need all this stuff. So I got to the end boss of the whole game, and I'm like, there's no way I can use any of all the stuff I've collected.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And yet every time I find like some shotgun shells or something that I really want, I'm like, I gotta make space for these.
Just need these cram these in
Ridiculous.
there.
Yeah, yeah. But
Benson,
there was one point too where I was like shooting a bunch of guys in a hallway, and they like piled up till there was like 8 bodies on top.
Oh my
of each other.
God.
They just kept
perfect.
running in like ducks on a like
there
one
are
of
some
those
cool
shooting range.
there are some cool Easter eggs in this DLC though. Did you Hanson? Did you find the since you upgraded to level 5 hacking? Did you find the terminal behind Quinn's workstation? It's like you push a secret button, it opens up. I didn't have it unlocked, and there was no way to get it, so I couldn't. But my first playthrough, like you hack it and you realize that he was the secret voice all along, even though you figure it out
okay.
later. But it was a nice little
Oh,
like,
you
thing.
figured it
No,
out
I
early?
missed that.
That's cool.
Yeah, because once he's like, in his Irish like voice, he's like, I'm getting the hell out of here, and then I left you something, so you can finally get to his little secret back room. But then there's like
And
another
there's a Praxis kit down there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like a secret button, and then the wall
Oh,
opens up.
cool.
And
No,
secret
I
stash
don't think
with more
I
ammo.
did that.
I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get in there and get that Praxis kit.
Yeah.
Because you could see it for
Yeah.
like half the DLC, and I'm like, how do I get in there?
Turns
And
out
then
you
it's
just
like,
gotta wait.
Yeah, of course. It's so annoying.
Okay. Let's get to that helicopter crash right out of
Yes,
the gate.
I want to talk about that last time
Okay, why do you like this so much?
because
What do you want to talk
because my first playthrough, like I thought that like normally in a video game you just would have to watch her die and it would be sad, but in this one you get a choice. Like you
Yeah.
can decide to try and save her, and it's pretty hard, especially on the highest difficulty, especially on stealth like playthrough.
about? Oh man.
But I eventually got it because you just got to memorize who to take down first and patterns and stuff.
Is
so
that
it's like
fun?
I thought it was fun. Yeah,
Okay.
you sneak through on the right, you take out the 2 guys on the right, and then immediately you throw EMPs to take out the robots, and then you got to stealth. You got to sniper tranquilizer dart the guys with the Gatling guns, and then once they're down, then it's just picking off everybody else.
Okay, just make a system out of it. Yeah, a lot of people wrote in and had a tough time with that. Like Nathan Wesley said, man, that crash fight would have been a real pain if I hadn't saved up 20 candy bars. I still just love the idea of Adam Jensen just shooting his,
Yeah.
gotta take down this Hershey's, gotta save Malik.
Yeah, exactly.
Barbara Joe writes in and says, I totally let Malik die. I tried fighting off the goons a few times, but I'd been mostly going stealth through the game. I was destroyed pretty quickly every time. Eventually I said screw it and ran for the elevator as fast as I could. I was treated to a scene where the bad guy had dragged Malik out of the ship and executed her. I regret nothing.
I don't
I'm in the
remember
same
the
boat.
executions. Like
Yeah, I
the
don't
first
remember that
time
either.
through, I just let her die. and
Oh
I just
yeah,
walked
it
away.
probably varies with how many people you take out or not. Because otherwise, like if you don't do anything with the enemies, I think it just blows up and she dies.
Right. I was just like walking away. I'm like, I'll see you later. And then you get like a thing over your radio of her like screaming like,
Yeah.
Or she goes like, you're on your own now. Give him hell.
Is that what happened for you?
Jensen. Yeah, I just
Okay.
immediately was
Okay.
like, well, goodbye, Malik. I didn't do your little side quest, and I have no attachment to you whatsoever.
I just do
And then-
not care at all.
And then Jensen just like has this super, just average monotone line where he just goes, Farida. And like says her name. And then Farida or
I
something.
thought you said fajita.
Fajita, yeah. He's
really
hungry. Yeah, all those candy bars are just an appetizer. And then
Gut rot. I need some real food.
but then Pritchard calls in and he actually has some real emotions about it. Where he's like, "Oh my god, what's happened?" It's like, I don't care. She flew a helicopter twice. I
Yeah, I
have no
know.
reason to love her.
It's funny too because
man.
even if you save her, she's like pretty much a non-entity for the rest of the game.
And then the DLC, there's just like her replacement. It's basically like Mass Effect when
okay.
like you let the Krogan die. It's like, hey, here's another Krogan, everybody.
Yeah.
It's that Keitner character or whatever her name was in the DLC. It's like, oh, here's another person who's basically Malik again. All right. But a lot of people had a tough time with that. And then going back to China, saved the little noodle boy in the
Yep.
Noodle Factory.
Yep.
I could not. It was really frustrating because like I would be in the vents looking at him, and he'd be like, "Oh, Dad, Dad," and then I'd sneak down and go to the doors, and there's like no option for hacking or unlocking this thing, and so I'm just like staring at him, and he's like a foot away. And he's like, "Kid, please let me be Jensen and scream out to this idiot," but I couldn't, so I had to go back and then realize,
There was
of course, hack
one
your
of
way
the first
in.
times you talk to him, you're done talking to him, and gives you like a hint on where to go, and then he like disappears with camouflage.
It's just the Otacon sequence
Yeah.
from Metal Gear, yeah.
Oh,
and I'm like,
interesting.
why do you need me to rescue you? Just use that camo to escape.
Because you can't use camo.
Well, you got to open the doors.
Yeah, you
for
got to
him.
open the door.
Well,
That's the catch.
I don't know. It looked like he had. I don't know. He could sneak out when another guard's walking through or something, couldn't he?
It's such like a developer shortcut too, just to like not have to deal with some companion AI.
Yeah.
Just to have the guy you rescue be like, well, I'm now going to turn invisible and take care of myself. Don't worry about me.
Well, that was nice too, because if I'm trying to sneak around and not actually kill anyone, I don't want this guy to hold on.
Right,
yeah.
right.
I mean, it's better than that. Sure.
Someone actually wrote in, or maybe I just saw it on Google, searching around for trying to figure out how to rescue this idiot. But apparently he is a big deal in Invisible War. He grows up to...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. This Tong kid, I had no idea. But speaking of Invisible War, we have John here that writes in from Missouri. He says he wants an augment that lets you change your face, Mission Impossible style.
Okay.
That would be
That's
cool.
great. That'd be a lot of new dialogue. And then he writes in and says, I miss being able to pick everything up, like in Deus Ex Invisible War. Well, it seems like a minor point. Absolutely everything in Invisible War could be picked up and manipulated. One of my favorite playthroughs was one where I used the environment as a weapon 100% of the time.
Wow.
You haven't lived until you've knocked someone out with someone else at 100 yards. I haven't found a game since then that allowed everything to be messed with, Elder Scrolls style. He says, Elder Scrolls style of dragging objects is abysmal. It doesn't hold a candle to Invisible War. I also miss Invisible War's weapon customization, but I'd rather be able to launch things off Pritchard's desk than hit him with a flaming crossbow bolt. Thanks, team. Sorry you didn't enjoy the game. Well, we'll get to that for conclusions, I think, maybe later. But yeah, Invisible War, there's a surprising amount of love out there for a game that seemed like crapped on. It got a lot of like
it, yeah.
8s around there.
I wonder if it was a response to like, well, everybody loves this. It's like the BioShock 2 problem. It's like everybody loved this first game, so we're gonna kind of crap on this one. When in reality, I mean, BioShock 2 is a pretty good game. Like if it
Totally.
wasn't called BioShock, I think people would have loved it.
Yeah, definitely. And Invisible War, we should point out, in this lineage, it was directed by Harvey Smith, who went on to do Dishonored and whatnot. So weird interconnection between all these immersive SPF games. All right, should we get to Singapore?
Also, just real quick,
Yeah.
did you guys go back to the Hive when we were in Shanghai?
No, I didn't.
Or-
I think I did.
No,
China.
yeah. So there was something I noticed. Sorry. There was like an advertisement that was like, oh, the Hive on Tuesdays is Augmented Ladies Night.
Oh, that's
And I'm
good.
just like,
That's
what?
funny.
Augmented Ladies drink free from 7 to 11. It's like, do I have to chop off my arm to like warrant this?
It's totally where they just hide one behind your back.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no. Just like shove your arm inside your sleeves and put like a coat hanger
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
coming out. Like, look at this cool augment.
Well, like also
Oh,
like
buddy.
like
Like
a lot of
puppet.
augments that people get. Like Malik says this. She's like, I've got a couple augments just to help me focus or something like that, like internal.
But you couldn't see them.
Yeah. So how do you prove that? I don't know. Like a
Oh
scanner.
yeah, I'm augmented.
Just peel back your skin like Terminator. Look at my brain.
But it's like I don't know.
Just
It's
a little marker
just a
on your
weird thing.
ID.
Like everyone knows what like ladies' night, no brainer. But augmented ladies' night, I don't know, it's just kind of
you
weird.
know, sometimes we don't have to get into the whole augmented lives matter situation with Mankind Divine and its marketing, but sometimes I just feel like augment. It's like a fun analogy for things. Just slap it on.
Right.
Isn't this a wacky
Even
world?
though we talked about
Or
it
like-
last time, but it totally doesn't make sense because like
Yeah.
the rich people would have augments.
R-
It doesn't
yeah,
really,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
In terms of like little pieces of lore that I really enjoyed, there was a radio. I thought it was interesting talking about like how throughout the world people's resistance to like tuberculosis and AIDS is like going down as a result of all these augmentations, I believe. And so like
really?
viruses are like spreading around the world again. Yeah.
Crazy.
So Deus Ex after Mankind Divided is going to be a post-apocalyptic world, and then it'll rebuild itself back up for the first Deus Ex. I think that's what happens technically. That's not true at all.
I was trying to figure out like, are you actually talking about something you?
No, I don't
You're
know that
just
at all.
BSing, 'cause
No,
it's a
I
weird
don't
way to
remember the
BS.
lore of
Sure.
Deus Ex 1
Okay.
that much. Let's see. We have Matthew Falvi who wrote in about gameplay a little bit. He says, my favorite part of the game was upgrading to the double takedown. This meant approaching 3 baddies stealthily, headshotting one, and then charging in for the martial arts takedown of the other 2 saps. The limited amount of practice points meant I actually explored the hell out of the game to gain new skills to alter the experience. This game is like Apple. It's great if you play it their way and it's not as freeform as they brag. Thanks for the game clubs. I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah. I
Play
would agree with
according to their rules, and you can have a great time. But it's going to be a little bit finicky every once in a while, and it will constantly want to open up iTunes.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think that's how it works.
Constantly messaging you about your online storage space.
The double takedown is good, especially because it still only takes 1 energy unit.
Oh,
thing.
really?
Oh, that is.
I didn't
Yeah,
get it
I didn't
ever.
know that.
So yeah, so like for stealth takedown, if there's 2 guys talking to each other like idiots, you just come up and then 1 energy down and keep going.
The animations, I think a lot of them are fun, especially some where it's just like a simple, he's just basically like throwing these rag dolls
Yeah.
around everywhere for the takedowns. But it makes me laugh when you do it in a herd and you just like grab one of the guys and then everyone else is just like paused
Time
there.
stands still, yeah.
Right. Even if they have dialogue of like, I think I saw something. You're like, as you're like 2 feet in front of them, just like ragdolling
Yeah.
their friend around
Yeah.
the room. And it's fun to like, during that animation, try to figure out what's going on in the room. So like you're trying to glimpse around with the camera to be like, okay, when the animation camera moved this way, I saw there's a guy down that hallway over there. It's a weird, janky system, but I found myself manipulating it so much to take down entire rooms of just waiting for a guard to walk through the door, press B, take them down, wait for it to recharge, wait for another guy to walk in the door, press B, take them down.
It still throws me off when it's because it seems like the loudest thing in the world when it's happening, and then you walk around the corner and there's just a guard sitting there like nothing happened. Like, well, don't know what that noise was in the other room. A bunch of elephants dancing,
Right.
But
So, yeah, or like, but they'll get alarmed by an automatic door just opening when you open it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The door opened, but no one came through. I'm gonna go check it out.
My favorite is that stealth game trope of, I think I heard something.
Yeah.
How many times in your life have you ever said that or been in that alert phase of like, I think I saw a man over there? It's
Yeah.
like, no one's
Or
ever
like,
experienced that.
If they heard like a footstep, like there's all these guards walking around. Oh, I heard a footstep. What is that? It's a different kind of footstep. But
Right.
so many times, a guard would like be walking my direction, and then I would like hit Q to like take him down stealth, and in the animation he's facing the opposite way, and I go tap him on the shoulder.
Of course.
Like, not at all what should have happened, but yeah, it was pretty good.
The AI, I think, is probably the worst part of the game, not even including like the dialogue and how often they repeat the same barks over and over and over
Yeah.
again, but just dealing with those guys is so sad. And it's not like Metal Gear where they keep calling in reinforcements. Like you can just clear out a room and then set off alarms and it's like, well, I'm not scared of anything anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to come in here. And also, it's like in so many situations, this was also the case every once in a while in Metal Gear, but it really makes me laugh where the guards will literally be screaming, "You can't run now!" And then I will just run 100 yards and close an elevator door and like, wow, we give up. Especially because they repeat that line so
Yeah,
often about
yeah.
like not being able to run. Or it's just like, hey, you crawl an event, all right, you win. You
Yeah.
got us this time,
Yeah.
Jensen.
Yeah.
I mean, the AI is not very sophisticated, but I don't have a problem with it. Like, I don't know. I'll go back and like the AI in GoldenEye is just dumb as rocks,
You
but
brought up GoldenEye so many
only
times.
because it reminds me of it. But it's like, yeah, it's not sophisticated, but it doesn't mean it's not fun. Like, it's a silly game. It's a silly game.
But they're not trying to make it a silly game. Like GoldenEye, you go back to it, there's paintballs being thrown
Yeah,
around and
true.
Oddjob running around, you know, crawling through vents. This is like trying to get serious about augments.
I think a lot of that stuff's more obvious when you're trying to be stealthy because you're aware of like the guards and how dumb they are and their patrol patterns. When you're just shooting like this round, I just sort of shot everything,
Yeah.
and they're still not like great, like being super tactical and trying to flank you or anything. But you know, you don't notice some of those like idiocies.
Yeah,
when you
I think
shoot
so.
them
When
all
you're
in the
really
head.
studying their movements and everything. What guns did you guys use? We haven't really gotten into that too much.
I stuck to the stun gun and the tranquilizer.
I never had the stun gun.
Just those two.
I don't think I ever went to the shop once in this game.
Really? Well,
Maybe
no, that's the one I started with. And
Okay.
that's probably the easiest because when you're sneaking around and people are like getting too close, the guards are getting too close. It's just so easy. All right, they're dead. It's so simple. But then the peps, I started using
so
that.
good.
That gun is amazing in the very last part of the game.
Yep.
When you're in crowd control.
Yes,
It made it
for
so
sure.
easy.
It seems like it was tailor made for that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's fun to use on one or two guys, but yeah, during the zombie section, which we'll talk about in a bit at the end, it's just amazing.
So for me, just non-lethal. I didn't even carry like the lethal guns in
Oh,
case
that's-
like by accidentally I would shoot someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were that hardcore? I was mostly using. I had this cool chain gun The
heavy gun?
Yeah, the heavy, which
Okay,
was
yeah.
awesome for taking down crowds or like bosses and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then I had
Or women who wouldn't pay their bills.
revolver.
Oh, did you? How is the revolver? I never
liked
picked it up.
It's powerful, which is nice.
Okay.
So it's another one you can use on bosses if you want to take them out in like 6 shots or something.
Okay.
Oh,
right
also
on.
you can get Burke's revolver in his office
Yep.
before the boss fight. Did you get that?
I didn't pick it up.
Oh, that's
'cause
probably
I'm
why he had it in the boss fight, because you didn't grab it from his office.
Yeah. Well, no, because he never came out because I killed him in his office.
Oh, okay.
Pretty quickly. I think I just knocked him out and then just shot him right in the head, which is
my God.
that was my favorite part of the game. Is just the freedom to shoot all these guys, which we'll get into in a little bit as well.
Freedom to shoot anybody you want.
It's really a thrill. It's really fun in this type of thing. But I use like the machine pistol. I liked a fair amount. Shotgun I thought felt awesome in this game. Like so many times I would just walk down a hallway like the Terminator and just blast these guys away. And then in the end, like the plasma rifle, whatever it is, I use that a fair amount. Really
Was that
enjoyed
cool?
it. Yeah, for sure.
It looked cool, but I had my staple weapons and like so much ammo that I was
staple
trying to
gun?
carry. And the staple gun was really good. That I didn't have space for it.
But yeah, it's tough though, because you have to make choices on your inventory, because you can't hold all these weapons and their ammo.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you can't hold them all, and you feel like you're constantly low on ammo, and yet I don't know, it's a weird balancing thing, because by the end of the game I had more ammo than I could possibly ever use.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting how that game makes you feel like you have to hoard everything and not use it, but at the same time you end up with more than you really are ever going to need. At least when you're playing, I don't know, just shooting. I feel like it didn't have quite the same problem when I was going stealth.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
why.
no, I never felt low on ammo in stealth, primarily because you have to just sit and wait for people to get close and then take them out that way.
Right.
Yeah. Tying back into that comment about treating it like an Apple product and like you play the game they want you to play, you'll have a good time. I was thinking about a lot while trying to play this because I didn't have the best time this round for the third segment. And I was
How much of it was the DLC though? If you take that chunk out,
that was a big part of it. Yeah. If I read through my notes during that entire section, I kept writing, "I'm miserable. I've died." I think I probably died in this game, no exaggeration, over 200 times.
Wow.
Constantly, and I'm really bad apparently. But I feel like if it's the type of game where if you devote your all to it, there's a lot of great stuff that can happen there. And I was thinking like, man, this is the type of game where like I'm sure the hardcore fans will turn off that objective marker because you can do that in the menu, and I bet that would be a much more interesting experience. Like if you want to devote the man hours to not know exactly where you have to go and just listening to dialogue, like I think there'd be some thrill in that. And then when you get to Singapore, they basically do that. Which I thought was really cool. Right when you get to Singapore, it's like, I don't know what the hell's happening here. It's all
sure.
spooky, no objective marker, and it's a relatively big space, and it's just kind of a, hey, go nuts, explore, find what you need to do.
Yeah. Oh, when you're looking for the scientists, you mean?
Yeah, but I didn't even know that was really your objective. You didn't know where to go. And then I stumbled across the first lady, and I found out later you can find them in any order.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, try and find the other guys. They'll give you some vague clues. Good luck. I really thought it was a cool segment for forcing you to not have a clear objective.
Yeah, the coolest thing ever.
It was like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That part was interesting because I biffed it really hard when you like set off the distraction and all the guards come running out.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where I was supposed to go because I didn't realize that the door opens up where the guards come from. So I was standing out in the open as this army of guards is running towards me. And at the last second, I used my invisibility and they all ran past me. I'm like, it was just like, I was like, oh my
the
God.
Arby's behind
Yeah.
you.
And then there was like a stampede. And I'm like, that was actually pretty cool because like that could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
4 for 5.
Oh, that invisibility is always great.
Yeah.
It's no wonder. Invisible War indeed. That's how I played
Yeah.
this game. Yeah, I really enjoyed that segment. It really cracked me up. There were so many conversations about how are we going to synchronize all these people? Don't worry, I have a plan. And then every scientist you talk to was like, it's impossible. 3 distractions at once. How could we coordinate such an attack? It's like, you have cell phones. You've had cell phones for hundreds and hundreds of years. Just send a text and say exactly at this time. It's not hard.
No, but
Go now.
Instead, he's got this like really, or like a walkie-talkie. He's got this really weird idea of like, you got a GPL implant. I'll make it vibrate.
Yeah, Pritchard, I need you to vibrate the GPLs in the exact frequencies.
I love how it's a Batman voice now, by the way.
It really is. I'm sorry, that's all I can do. Also,
Swear to me, Richard.
Jensen thinks he's so cool. There's one moment when you're talking to a scientist where they're like, "Oh, Jensen, I thought you died." And he goes, "I made the mistake of surviving." Douchey.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Nathan Keeling wrote it again about Jensen's cool personality. Says, "My favorite moment is helping the helicopter pilot, whatever her name is, uncover her friend's
Fajita.
murder."
Well, that was from the last portion, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he says, when you finally find the killer and blackmail him, he responds saying, "Killing the bitch was just an accident." To complete the quest, you have to walk away and hack some terminals, which airs his confession on the news. However, if you purposely fail the quest by stabbing the bastard in the chest, Malik yells at you for ruining the plan. Jensen's straight-faced reply is, "Would you believe me if I said it was an accident?" For the no-nonsense Jensen to quip such a perfect one-liner, I had to pause the game because I was laughing so hard. So some people like Jensen's personality.
All right.
He has his moments to shine.
His voice still throws. It just doesn't seem real at all.
Yeah.
It's like, why is your voice
the Solid
so
Snake's
gravelly?
voice seem real.
I like to think that that's also an augment. Like you know
like
what I
he
mean?
normally just sounds like Tiny Tim.
Well, hi guys. No, I like to think. I like to think that before he had his accident and got like replaced with robot parts, so like he sounded more human. You know what I mean?
But you hear him in the beginning of the
Yeah,
game, and I don't think he
yeah.
sounds that way.
Yeah.
This is your own Wade lore.
Right. That's
you
my
just
own
mute
way.
the game.
That's the only way I can make sense of how strange his voice comes across for most of the game.
All right, that's fair. So Barbara Joe wrote in with just a bunch of breakdown moments. She did a great job, and she was on the Uncharted 4 game club as well.
Oh, cool.
Anyways, she says, hello, Game Informer. Here's some thoughts about the ending of Deus Ex Human Revolution. Number 1, zombies? What the actual F? For a game that was trying to ground itself in some sort of reality, I was really surprised that the end went off the rails like this. I really liked the tension at the beginning of the game with the hacker who had been compelled to kill himself. It showed that the real bad guys could get into people's heads and make them do whatever. That's kind of terrifying. But Hugh Darrow sent out a signal that made everyone act crazy because he wanted to rid the world to abandon his technology. If he wanted that, he would have just made his signal kill every augmented person on the planet. That would have been far more effective than zombies. This was
That's a good point.
Well,
actually.
yeah.
Although he just didn't want to. Oh, what? Actually, I'm more confused now after thinking about that because, like, he's instead like, I'm going to make them all insane and kill other people. Yeah, I don't know.
To prove that it's no good.
It's not
Well,
worth-
like, okay, this actually ties into the last conversation with him to try and uncover like what his true motives are. Like, how did you guys do with that?
Not well, Wade. I did not convince him of anything. It was just a dead end every conversation.
you
but
didn't get those pheromones, did you?
No, I didn't. I really
But actually, they don't work if you try them. Like he accuses you of being like a sociopath, trying to just control people's emotions.
Oh,
It's a
really?
neat twist because it works
Oh,
every other
cool.
time in the game, but this time the game's like,
your sorcerer's ways won't work
Gotcha.
on me,
Yeah,
Jensen.
yeah.
I appreciate it. I thought it was an interesting twist a little bit in that final conversation when he was basically like, I'm fighting against the Illuminati, which you in theory are also saying like, hey, the Illuminati could take control of people. Like this
Yeah.
is why augments are a bad idea.
Mhm.
Even though I have a leg brace on, which is flirting with the augment.
I have contacts augmented.
So how did it go for you then?
Well, so the first time I played through way back, I tried the like augment to try and control the conversation, and he just totally like called me out and was like, "This is why." Da da da.
Mhm.
So this time, it's a harder conversation to get a handle of because it's randomized. Like the things that he'll say are not always the same.
Oh,
so
really?
so you got to like tailor your responses just based off what he's accusing you of. So basically what it comes down to is you figure out like how, if you do the conversation correctly, you figure out that his body is not as receptive to augmentations as normal people's are. So he's
it's just spite.
he's like a little bit jealous that he can't like go with the rest of humanity like down this road.
Yeah, I did hear that. And then Jensen's like, he's like, you're just worried that everyone's going to realize you're not the whiz kid, that everyone's going to be smarter than you, and you're not going to have this prestige anymore.
Yeah, so that's part of that. And there's one more thing I can't remember, but basically you kind of put the finger on the nerve of like his insecurities and how his intentions aren't quite as pure as he wants them to be. So he has that sadistic side of him. And then eventually, if you do that, he'll give you the code to shut down the computer.
Oh, so you guys shut down a computer.
He was the
the
one-
one in the final boss
Yeah,
room?
yeah. So he'll give you the code and he'll like
Oh,
see the error
interesting.
of his ways.
Oh,
Right.
cool.
Yeah, that's what happened with me as well. Wasn't there? He had a line about Daedalus or something too.
Oh,
It's
I really wanna talk
flew
about
too
this.
Close to the sun.
Yeah, they're like, oh,
Watching,
it's
or
kind
no,
of
we're
like
watching my
Daedalus.
son.
I literally wrote it down because it was my favorite. He says, I'm more like Daedalus instead of Icarus, whoever he was compared to. Watching as his child crashes into the sea. And then it like zooms in on him looking
Yeah.
out at the ocean. And maybe it looks different on the console versions, but on the PC version, it made me laugh because like it's zooming in on what he's looking at, and it's like 3 seagulls flying around, except they have like
Yeah.
2 frames
Yeah.
of animation. just
They're
like
the
awkwardly.
worst looking goals.
Of all the things, like, don't zoom in on
I
it. It
know.
looks like trash.
I know, it's great.
But that I love that moment where it's like, oh, Hugh, it's kind of cool seeing him up in this tower and whatnot. And then after really botching that conversation, he just like sits down. He's like, try and stop it. I was like, all right. And I just took out a gun, like looking around the room, like, is anyone going to mess with it? And just shot him right in the head, and he died.
My God.
And no one made a big kasha out of it. No one messaged me. There was no achievement, no prompt. It's just like, if you want it, kill him. All right, knock yourself out. We're not going to acknowledge it in any way, which normally I like it when games acknowledge it, but I love that it's basically kind of sort of the final boss. And it's like, kill him if you want. All right, move on.
Yeah.
It's so cool. What'd you do, Reeves?
It's very similar to Wade's, where I had a long conversation. I got the goal scene, and then I sort of talked him into like, hey, you're being an asshole. Like, you're being a spoiled child. And he just gave me the codes. I remembered him like killing himself my first time, but I might just be misremembering that.
I think one of the seagulls killed itself.
That's
what
right.
I'm thinking of.
Flew
through the window,
into its
yeah.
eye.
But yeah, I mean, what I like is throughout the whole game, he acts as like this pretentious, like I know everything sort of dude.
Mm-hmm.
Even with his, Greek analogy there, the child falling into the sea, he's still kind of like on his preachy high horse there, like, oh, my pride's so wounded, like da da da. But yeah, like eventually, if you can bring him down to the point where he was like, oh my God, like yeah, I'm just an asshole, like trying to mess with the world.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool to see.
The zombie thing, I think it was a real high moment and a real low moment. Like, I think the AI looks stupid. It's a lot of mirror animations as they like run towards you awkwardly. The idea of like triggering everybody in the world and changing the gameplay up, I think is cool. Zombie trope. Yeah, I don't know if I'm as crazy.
It did kind of remind me of a couple of the Uncharted games where it's like, oh, this feels out of left field and kind of like a different genre of game.
It reminded me a lot, and even though it came out after. Metal Gear Rising. Do you remember that part in Denver when all like the guards just go nuts? It's like the Jack's back sequence.
I never actually played with Metal Gear Rising.
What?
Sorry.
That'd be a fun Game Club game. That game is
right.
nuts.
Yeah, I
Not
believe
great, but nuts. Anyways, I like the idea of just twisting up the AI like that, and like you said, the Pep's gun it can just mow these guys down.
Definitely.
But it's kind of freaky at times, just having these guys like. That in Singapore, like, it was completely empty, and then I crawled through this vent and found one guy who was just losing his mind. He's like, I see you in the vent! I see you in the vent! And then he's just in the corner, basically, like, rocking back and forth. And I was like, well, I'll shoot him and move on quietly. And then, like, in the emails, as people's minds are cracking, in the emails, like, a lot of them will end. What does it say? It says, like, I can see it, mommy. And just, like,
weird.
even they're, like, losing their minds as they're typing. It's messed up.
Did anybody actually get that chip that's supposed to...
I did
mind control.
The first playthrough I did, yeah. And so what happens there is, what's her face? Is it Zhao?
Oh, her face.
Yeah. What? No. So before the third boss battle you have with the augmented dude, in that weird like bodies exhibit,
that's a cool idea.
She'll trigger your upgraded chip and make you like malfunction if you get the switched out chip.
Okay, I was really curious about that because earlier on they said like you need to go visit the limb thing.
Yeah,
we really recommend it, and I didn't do it, and so then it was just this weird sequence where I loved Jensen glitching out, and I'm like, this is building to something, and it really didn't. She said something like, I'll take control of you. Oh wait, never mind. And I was wondering what would happen.
Oh, I didn't get the upgrade.
Because so my first playthrough, when you start glitching out, I'm like, oh, I better get this fixed, and got the switch, the
right
chip
into the
switched
Illuminati's
out.
plans.
Right into.
So
their
then,
hands.
what does he do? If you're under control.
No, you're not under control. You're just not as effective. I think if I remember right, like you lose some of your augments or something during the fight.
Oh, weird. Okay.
That's all it is. Is there a scene where he's like
and
on
like
the ground?
and I think you're like some of your heads up display stuff is like glitching and stuff. It was a while ago, but that fight's cool because you can hack. I think how you do it with a pacifist playthrough. I guess that boss battles don't count, but you hack eventually into this like these two mobile turrets, and they just kind of like follow you around and just attack him on sight when he appears.
Oh, that's awesome.
But since he's cloaked, you got to like stun him first, so he's just standing there. Otherwise, they won't know where he is.
A lot of people had a tough time with that boss fight too. It wasn't too bad for me.
Yeah, I just shot him a bunch.
Yeah, same here. It was a cool idea. I don't know if what they're going for is, there's bodies everywhere. Which one's him? And it's not like I was ever confused or tricked at any point, but it looked awesome to have moving corpses like that.
That was super freaky.
It would have been in the first playthrough. It was confusing because like, which one is he? But this time he didn't even get a chance to like go and pretend. Like I shot him so many times so quickly that he was just dead before he had a time to go into that cycle.
So Barbara Joe writes in with point number 2. And says, so what's the deal with this scientist lady, Megan and Adam? I never really felt like I completely understood their relationship. Were they an item? Yes, they were. Why was Adam so hell-bent on finding her? The only interaction these two characters had was in the beginning and towards the end. Adam often came across as sort of a creepy stalker because I don't have any context for why he would be broken up over her death. And Jesus, what the F was with Megan's lab bedroom? The rest of the game was pretty generic, and then they went with decorating her space in stark white everything. I half expected her to be maniacally twirling a mustache when I saw that.
Yeah, so they just breeze through it in the beginning of the game where they're supposed to be
They're ex.
They're ex, and because like you have a side quest with her mom.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, I don't think they set that up well enough. And like in the elevator in the very beginning, she's like, "Adam, I have something very important to tell you." Adam, and then Pritchard comes in like he always does.
Yeah.
But I don't think that she returned his affection ultimately.
What was happening? Was there more context at the end that I didn't pick up on?
At the very, very end, like the end cutscene?
So they were using her research, and she kept just saying, like, this is more complicated than you think. This is more complicated than you think, Jensen. It's not that I'm bad.
Yo, she's totally bad.
She is just 100% bad.
Yeah, she's 100% bad.
Like, but they were just using her research, right?
Okay, but the thing is, like, I mean, maybe they could, like, pull a fast one, but the very last thing you see of the game is a cutscene where the secret villain, Bob Page, which I didn't know this, is like the villain in Deus Ex.
In the original.
Yeah.
I assume that's what it was. He was like, call me Bob.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
okay.
And with that weird, like, sadistic look on his face.
Is that the post-credit scene?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's also the guy in the very opening of the game, too, talking.
Oh, really?
Do you not get that in some endings?
I've got it in both mine. But anyway, so basically he's talking to someone named Morgan about the wreckage of Panchaea. Maybe we can get something from the wreckage. And then he says, I gotta go. She's coming. And then he's talking to Megan, and she says, the nanite virus is quite intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing the hybrid project up close, Mr. Page. And then he says, please call me Bob. So it's like, she knows what's all this, like the nanovirus. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So I think she's just totally 100%. And even like when Jensen rescues her and the scientists, she's like, I gotta go. And then she just immediately goes back to this guy.
Well, what is she wanting to do then? Ultimately, she just wants the power, or what?
Like,
what a girl
if
wants.
basically, if she did want to just go back and like to what she was doing before, she would go back to Seraph. I mean, clearly, she'd be like, "Hey, I was kidnapped, but now I'm back. Protect me." But she's like, "Nope, back to the captors I go."
But in theory, she's going to be Mankind Divided then?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I guess she didn't die.
I guess you didn't. Did you guys feel compelled? Were you in sync with Jensen's quest the entire game of like, gotta find Megan? Like,
Not
I didn't
really.
really care.
No.
That was the thing, is like, she's your ex, dude. Like,
Yeah, she's
Come
clearly been the one. She was the one who broke it off. Clearly,
yeah, he was whipped.
yeah.
But her room was neat.
Her
Pure
room,
white.
I thought her room was neat, and I was trying to figure out like, what is the metaphor here? Like, what is? Because the rest of the game is all drenched in yellow, but why that room?
Because she's the
Black and
pure,
white.
Wearing white before Labor Day or whatever the hell.
Yeah, but except she wasn't, because as Wade pointed out,
Well, that's what makes it art. It's a twist.
yeah,
You ever see it coming?
It's, it rhymes.
Barbara Joe says,
Poetry.
just in general, and I'm really glad I beat the game. Everyone was very right about the augments. The game gets much more fun when you get more abilities. The story is mostly garbage, but I went with it. I will wait for some reviews to see if the sequel looks like it's worth picking up. Thanks again for joining the game club. Playing through the game and discussing it with the community has been a lot of fun. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you, Barbara Joe. What did you guys think of the ending? Which choice did you have? Which choice did you go with?
To me, I guess the only clear choice for me was like broadcasting everything and being like, "Hey, this is what Hugh Darrow did. He was an evil prick," and expose everything.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to go with what Taggart or Seraph said, or even like self-destruct.
Okay, hang on
I
a
got
second.
the impression the self-destruct option was like, this is the ultimate good one, because then
That's
they can make their call.
I just sprinted right towards self-destruct.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
And it killed
All
myself.
right.
Also, I did that in, well, I guess I won't
Is there a
spoil
big
other games.
explosion or something?
It fades to black, and then it's the sound of explosions, and then it's that final cutscene where it's like live action stuff.
Yeah.
Like your style, and it's like, oh, the people choose. They can always choose the right path. Have faith in people. And It's
Nope.
like footage of people voting and giving like a thumbs
Nope.
up and stuff.
Nope.
You didn't have that at all.
No, people can't be trusted.
Oh wait.
What's interesting about that ending is that one is pretty much non-canonical.
Yeah, that's
apparently,
guess so.
that's gonna be the hardest one to parse with the next
Right.
next game.
He got better. Matt Sweatman writes in and says, just finished the game and was wondering about the choices we're given at the end. It seems we have 3 buttons to choose from, each one broadcasting to the public a different version of the truth. I usually choose to play my games as the good guy, so I chose to go with Daryl's message since it was the closest to the truth, even though I felt like it skewed a bit anti-technology. Do we know which ending is canon? Also, the computer AI mentioned an option to blow up the base, killing everyone and covering up the events, but I didn't see any obvious way to trigger this ending. Is there a way to get this ending? Love the game club and anxiously waiting for the next game. Yeah, it was confusing because they're like, you have 2 options for me, and we'll get into this in a bit. And then there was like 1 button in front of me, and I was like, is this a mistake? And then you have to like run in this hallway, down this long hallway to the back on the other side of the facility, basically. Like, here's the other button for killing everything.
I guess it was really hard to miss that, like that hallway leading to the self-destruct button.
Yeah,
like
I guess so.
But it
right
is
there.
weird that it's like another hallway you got to go down.
You think it'd just be the 3 different buttons.
Right.
So I had 2, and they mentioned 3. You guys mentioned 3 options.
Well, there's the one, you didn't have the third?
I didn't have a third.
Okay. There's the one right in front of you, which is like transmit the message.
I had that one,
exactly as is. And then she's like, or I could use my computer algorithms to rewrite the message and transmit this other message that's a little more positive. Like
well, I think that depends on if you even talk to Seraph or Taggart, because
is that the problem?
I was about to go down the elevator. I'm like, oh wait, I forgot to talk to those dudes. So I went back and found both of them. But if you don't talk to them, you don't know what their side of the story is or what they want from you. So then you just won't get those options. And when you go down there, you'll have 2 essentially, unless you talk to Taggart and Seraph.
Yeah, that was exactly my problem. Because I was running towards that elevator, and I saw like I could hear Seraph talking. And Taggart like, hey, come talk to us, come talk to us. I'm like, all right, I assume they're down this way. And then kept running, got on the elevator, and it's like, this is the point of no return. I was like, cool. I love that part in games. Got on the elevator, and then it says like, objectives failed. Secondary objectives failed on the top. And I was like, oh, I really wanted to talk to Seraph again, too, because I like the voice acting so much for him. So what is their argument? What do they say?
So Seraph is like, listen, this is going to destroy all of our chances to control our evolution. You know, the same old Seraph thing he's been doing the whole game.
Classic Seraph.
Taggart's like, listen, we didn't want to outlaw augmentations. We just want some regulation. Like, da-da-da-da. You should say that it was instead this weird, corrupted supply of, I forgot the name of the...
terrorist. The anti-freedom... humanness, anti-freedom humanness.
Taggart's buddies.
So Seraph was like, hey, have a pro-aug message, and Taggart was like, hey, have a pro-regulation message, and then so it's basically like, what do you think is right? But I don't know if any of those really matter in the next game, because people are still going to have all those viewpoints. Like, there's going to be the pro-human side, the anti-human.
It's not mankind united.
Yeah, that's what they were saying when we did the cover strip, is there's not really a canonical ending. Like either of those endings kind of fits into their game plan for Mankind Divided, so your ending official can sort of fit. And even Panchea was still sort of destroyed in the official ending, so kind of fits. It's just weird that like Jensen survived. Is the weird part.
He just swam home.
Yeah, somehow
it's like the end of Jaws.
Yeah.
So in the Facebook group, Richard Lynch posted, here's the one thing that I'm curious about. Has this game club made any of you more or less excited for Mankind Divided? Honestly, this look back has me a tiny bit nervous. Jeremy Bowl says, I'm super excited now for a game that I thought was going to be garbage. Matt Sweatman, who we just read, says, the game isn't without its flaws, but I'm sucked enough to make this a day one purchase now for the sequel. Chris Kahasapina Pedalon, Redton, Copeland. I just hope it starts off a lot quicker from the get-go, because holy damn, I don't remember this game starting so slow. But once I got augmented and whatnot, I ended up really loving the game again. And then they also had a discussion about what they want to see carry over for sure. And I was curious, because I haven't been following Mankind Divided coverage too much. What about like the battery system? Is that staying the same for like dealing blows to people and stuff?
Changing it. I think Dishonored was kind of inspirational for them in a way. And I think it's more of a meter now. And I think part of it, they were really confused. They didn't have it finished and sorted out when we were on the cover trip. But they did say that it'd be similar to Dishonored in that a portion of it could recharge. Okay. And then you'd maybe use different things to recharge it fully, which I like that idea. So you always have a little bit of something to work with.
A little bit of something. Nice.
To Chris, although I would say, if you start the game again and go New Game Plus, then you'll just have a lot of your unlocks right away, and it makes the game a lot better.
That's true. So, or you could take the Jojuba route and just cheat out of the gate and then quit.
Yeah,
that's also cool.
Not finish the game.
Let's see. Nathan Mack writes in and says, hey guys, love the podcast, especially Game Club. Thank you. It's got me playing games I usually gloss over. Deus Ex was a superb pick. Love the story, but the boss battles clunky inventory system and static environments were a bit of a letdown. I'm extremely glad I experienced it. Looking forward to Human Revolution. I think he means Mankind Divided. For the next game, I'd love to see Dishonored. I didn't have high hopes for it when it first came out, but it really exceeded my expectations. I'd love to play through it again alongside the GI crew. It's an interesting choice. Maybe. Bruce Dixon writes in and says, another for Game Club choosing imperfect games. 2 nominations for me, Kaya Dark Lineage and Cameo. The original Cameo.
Interesting.
So it's interesting. He's like, hey, I kind of like this imperfect game. You don't have to do just a perfect game like Final Fantasy VII and almost Uncharted 4 every single time. Where do you guys stand on good games versus imperfect games for Game Club?
I like shaking it up.
Yeah.
Having imperfect. I'd even go. It'd be fun to do like a straight up bad game, like what people say, like this game is not good.
Let's do Martian
at some
Gothic.
point.
Oh,
I'm
that's a great
not saying
idea.
I definitely not want to do that a lot, but maybe a shorter one.
I still really want to do Jurassic Park from Telltale.
See, that's a good example. That one's pretty considered bad.
So some people don't want to do it.
I think this one is a perfect choice because there's a lot of points that people can either like or don't like that we can discuss, and also there's many ways, there's many different ways to carry out scenes and discussion or your conversations in the game. Like the press conference was a perfect example of ways to play the game that I had no idea. So I think that's a great one for Game Club.
Yeah. Overall, I'm happy. I am endlessly thankful that you picked up the slack, Wade, and jumped on.
Yeah.
Crucial. I'm happy with the choice. I felt like I couldn't give it my all just because it's not really my genre, and I felt kind of gross.
Okay.
Sure.
Just I feel like a little bit out of my element. It's like I'm speaking a foreign language here. I don't know how nitty gritty I can be, which
Should've
kind
got
of
an
bummed me out.
RPG guy on this, like Joe Juba or somebody.
God, wouldn't that just be ideal? But I do like the idea of having the imperfect game, flaws and all and whatnot. Some people wrote in, they're like, oh, are you ever going to go back to 80s or 90s games, stuff like that? Would we ever go back again? I don't know. I have a game in mind for the next one. I'm curious what people think about coinciding upcoming remasters with a Game Club. I feel like that's a good way to go.
Interesting. Interesting.
But what do you guys think about doing a new game versus old game?
I like
next time
old.
around?
I like.
But it's tough because it's going to be holiday season, and so many other editors here are going to want to play through the new stuff.
They're all going to want to play through the stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
As it's coming out.
Right. And so
So-
it's tough to be like, hey, take a lot of time to go back.
Almost isn't the time either for our editorial staff to go
Yeah.
back and do an old game.
But community doesn't care.
No,
They shouldn't have to care about our schedules.
I totally get it.
What I
They
like
should
about it
not
though
care
is
about
it's
our
like a super replay, but mixed with book club. So it's you really get to dive in deep with games that people might have played years and years ago and forgot about. And I don't know. And someone said games that I glossed over and didn't get a chance
Right.
to play.
So you're pro Game Club is what you're saying.
I'm pro older games on Game Club.
Okay.
No, I agree.
I would love to hear feedback. I mean, I can't promise that we're going to go with it, but it's always kind of fun to see what people email in and suggest. So feel free, if you have suggestions for the next Game Club game, send them into podcast@gameformer.com. If you have formatting tips or things you liked about this, didn't like, definitely let us know. We, come hell or high water, are going to have a consistent cast next time around. I am going to handcuff people to this table to make them stick around.
Where would we get handcuffed?
It's not important. So we'll announce the next choice soon. We might be able to squeeze in a small one before the one I have in mind. So Reeves, maybe one that you're shooting for might be
that'd be cool.
Maybe you might be able to squeeze it in there.
Squeeze it in, squeeze it out.
That's right. But again, thank you so much for everybody that played along, people that bought this game. We are endlessly thankful for playing along with us and sending in a bunch of emails. We had a bunch of emails that I didn't get a chance to read. So the community is fantastic. Thanks, everybody. I'm happy with this third segment in particular. Not my favorite part of the game, but I feel like we finally got our groove going on
Feels
a Deus
good
Ex
to
Game
finish
Club
it and
and have a consistent cast.
Are you looking forward to the new game? Or you think you're going to actually play it?
No.
Really?
I don't know. As I was dragging myself along through this game, I kept thinking about it, and I'm sorry, it was a grind. It was a grind.
It's a good game.
I know it's a
DLC.
very cool game. I will totally give it up. I totally understand why people love Human Revolution. I think it's a cool game with a lot of style. It's just maybe it's just a matter of devoting a lot of time to a game, but something was just a slog for me.
It had some rough edges that I think could be sanded down. Hopefully, Mankind Divided does that.
I'm sure I'll start it and maybe I'll get completely sucked in. But as I was playing it, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be playing Mankind Divided, but I don't know. We'll talk about it on the podcast, I assume, very soon. I think that is coming right around the corner. So I look forward to talking to whoever's reviewing it, about all about it. But is that it? Anything else you guys want to say about Deus Ex Human Revolution?
There was one thing that slipped through the cracks.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I hacked every single computer I found
Uh-huh.
to read all those dumb emails. But there was one that I kept finding, and it was such a funny Easter egg. You know, it was a Nigerian prince email.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Did you guys ever find those?
No.
They're on like almost half the emails.
That's awesome.
But like,
Oh, wait, I do remember those.
so urgent response needed. Dear sir, having consulted with my colleagues and based on the information gathered from the Nigerian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, I have the privilege to request for your assistance to transfer the sum of 47 million into your account. The sum, blah, blah, blah. And it just keeps going on. And like, I need your bank information. And
That's good. There's other like replies of people like talking.
No
Okay.
one's replied to it. That would be super funny though.
It'd be funny if you could email them back from Jensen's account. Like,
I know.
I'm very interested.
Yeah.
My voice is
But
changing constantly.
the one thing I am super. Oh, by the way, when I first landed in Pangaea, I took a screen grab of it. But there's all these ships docked at the Arctic station, and one ship says the RMS Titanic.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? That's cool.
That's perfect.
Anyway, the writing I always find super interesting in this game.
Wait, coming in strong at the end
Because
here.
there's so many things I forgot to mention.
Okay.
And I really am curious to see like how the characters are written in this next game, because I always felt like the characters in Human Revolution are just too informed. Everyone is like, hey, Jensen, what do you think about like the controversy and this and that and the mission you just went on and what this person
Don't
said?
they have to be just for exposition?
It just no, like random people that'll just pass by in the hallway.
Oh, okay.
Like I got back from the very first mission, my first playthrough, and I killed the guy who had the hostage. And the lady is like in the cafeteria was like, I see why you had to kill him, but didn't you want to know who he was really working for? And I'm like, what?
It's just a voice for the game developer to be like, oh, there's choice here.
On the side quest for Malik, you meet up with this guy at a limb clinic to find an autopsy report. And this is something he says. Okay.
Little something.
And this is just a random like dude on the street. It pains me to see this once great city, which stood as a bastion for reform and progress against our oppressive communist origins, succumb to the trappings of corporate bureaucracy and petty corruption.
Oh, boy.
I'm like, what is this?
Well, you can't walk down a street in Minneapolis or Game
Oh,
Space
people are
without
always
someone talking
talking
about that.
Yeah.
So
That's great
I mean,
bastion.
it just took me out a little bit. But anyway, that's all. That's all.
I know we're
have.
trying to wrap up. And
I know.
here,
I'm
but,
sorry. I just
can we
got-
go back and talk about Detroit again real quick? Like, really?
Absolutely. What was with those corridors?
Oh my God! Did you play basketball? Did you guys find a basketball?
All
game?
right, that's
all I
it
got.
for Deus Ex Human Revolution Game Club, and that's it for this episode of the Game Informer Show. So be sure to tune in next time. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.